Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Youth for Youth podcast series by the Mohanji Youth Club. I'm Anusha, a volunteer, and I'll be hosting today's session. So, it's been about 10 months from the start of our MYC Crisis Management Project, and we have been offering free disaster preparedness, training, and awareness sessions to communities globally, focusing specially on children, teens, youth groups, and underprivileged communities. Our focus areas include natural disasters, man made disasters, and mental health crisis during emergencies. And as we progressed, we noticed that while many programs focus on training, they often overlook something critical, which is how people can stay calm before, during, and after a crisis and support each other emotionally during and after a crisis. So we began to do our work in three ways. First is training, second is expression, and third is emotional resilience, covering it in a more holistic way. And from this, we developed a few key initiatives. The first being You Lead, which is a disaster preparedness and awareness initiative for educational institutions. And second is the Stability and Survival Stories, where young people can share what crisis they've undergone and how they've overcome it through any creative art form or any form of nonviolent expression. And third is Mauna. It's a weekly meetup, both online or offline, that helps individuals get together, connect in silence, and release their stress or fear, detox their mind, and eventually respond with greater calm and clarity. And as we have organized a lot of sessions in the past few weeks with young people, we have tried asking them who they felt are the most overlooked communities when it comes to disaster preparedness. And a large majority pointed out to children. So while many systems are designed around how adults can be prepared and respond during crisis, children experience and react to these crises very differently and are often not accounted for in these systems. So today's conversation is all about knowing how to support children during crisis. And we are honored to be joined by our distinguished panel members today who have contributed significantly in this field. Dustin Titzman, founder of Vario Kid Medic, a platform that provides hands-on disaster preparedness training and develops child-focused first aid kits designed to teach practical emergency response skills, build confidence, and help children stay calm during emergencies. Patricia Frost, President and Executive Director of National Pediatric Disaster Coalition, focused on connecting novices to experts, improving pediatric disaster preparedness, and protecting vulnerable children during emergencies. Martha Keswick, author and creator of Cope Disaster Champions, a global child-focused disaster risk reduction initiative that uses illustrated storybooks and educational resources to teach children how to understand, prepare for, and respond to disasters. Welcome, everyone, and we are truly grateful to have you join us today. We are excited to learn from all of your experiences and perspectives. So let's dive into the discussion. All right, so I'll start with Dustin. Among your experiences as a firefighter, paramedic, Army Black Hawk pilot, and a father, which role has most influenced the way you teach children to respond during emergencies?
Can't say any single role has most influence. It's definitely a congruence of all of them. And what's left out of there is that my wife owns and operates a summer camp. I've been teaching kids there for the last 11 years. And the father of four is certainly a big deal. I think it all comes together. I was an instructor within the department, and I was exposed to a lot of stuff, both teaching and responding to runs. We're seeing where people had a very big desire to help, but had no clue what to do. And trying to teach a large population of adults is difficult because everyone got busy lives. But if you can focus on the children while they're already in school or at a summer camp or youth program, you can impart that knowledge at a young age and then it stays with them forever. Um, and then a big deal was just seeing how capable kids are, being a dad, teaching them things and they get it. And not only can they do it, they can teach it. Um, Definitely a combination of all the things that was kind of a blessing and a perfect storm to say, yep, let's go out and teach as many kids as we can how to not just know certain skills, but how to use their mind. We always say there's nothing more important than being a calm presence with common sense. So it's a combination for sure.
Right, right. That's right. Thank you, Dustin.
Mhm.
Building on that, Patricia, I'd like to ask from a pediatric disaster systems perspective, what is the most dangerous gap you've seen in how disaster systems treat children?
Oh, that's a really good question. There's so many layers to that question. I think the thing that we're battling right now are to normalize teaching children and making sure children's needs are addressed on a systems basis. And that means starting with the family. And it has to be from the ground up. And I think Dustin's efforts is an extraordinary story and also focus of just what that might look like. In working with various groups and disciplines and policymakers here at the National Pediatric Disaster Coalition, it's our efforts are really focused on making sure that we're somehow able to get in the rooms where emergency management and preparedness is being discussed, and to be that kind of squeaky wheel about what about the kids, and then to create opportunities for that effort to always be in the room. I think the most dangerous part is, the lack of coordination we have on a systems level. And it's just now becoming a priority in the groups that are working in the US on pediatric disaster preparedness, and that we can't stay in our silos for just EMS or the healthcare system or schools or childcare, where all this work is being done on an individual basis for those sectors, but we have to find a way to coordinate all of this to face the challenges of the types of disasters that we're facing right now.
Right. I understand that, there may be a lot of coordination issues, and I think that definitely must be given a lot of priority. And I think, Martha, you've approached this very differently from Dustin and Patricia. You've taken the approach and tried to handle this challenge through storytelling, books, and jingles with Cope Disaster Champions. What first made you realize that creative storytelling could be such a powerful tool for disaster risk education for children?
Thank you. That's a lovely question to answer. Was back in 2015, I went to a lunch for the UNDRR at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. And the lunch was all about how to make cities disaster resilient. So, how businesses could be prepared for typhoons or, and I came away thinking about children as a vulnerable group and how important it is that they are properly educated in disaster preparedness. So for me, as a children's book author, obviously all stems from the belief that children can have a crucial role in this. And this is why I first kind of dreamt up the concept of COPE. And it's a series of scientific and yet simple and beautifully illustrated books. The illustrations are done by Mariko Jesse, Each book covers a different hazard, ranging from cyclones to wildfires, from storm surges to volcanoes. The plot revolves around the COPE squad. So we have Candy, Ollie, Ping, and Eddie, and they're a team of disaster risk reduction agents who are trained up at the COPE Academy in Sichuan province by the strict Grand Mistress Fu. And in each of the books, the squad will head off on missions all over the world, teaching other kids how to be ready for disasters and how to act as agents of change in their communities. So the idea for this came, from that lunch back in 2015.
Right. I think we had a call with Lena a few months ago, and when we received the book of Cope, it had beautiful illustrations and all the complicated stuff explained in a very simple way. And I mean, even I could understand it and I could memorize it so well. So thank you so much for sharing these resources with us, which has actually come in handy for conducting sessions with the children. Maybe I'd like to dig a little deeper into how preparedness actually looks like in practice across different continents. So, Dustin, you designed a first aid kit for children after not finding anything suitable on the market. What was missing in existing kits, and what does a child empowering kit look like?
Good question. Thank you. And also, before I forget, Martha, what age group are your books targeted at?
4 to 9.
Okay.
Like just what Anusha was saying, that actually, I learned all of the key disaster risk reduction messages really mainly through the COPE book. So it's 4 to 9, but it's for everybody, I would say.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love to hear it. I can't wait to show my kids your books.
Oh, great.
And Anusha, to answer your question about the first aid kits, I was just a dad. I mean, I already was teaching the program and had taught my kids a lot of things. And I was still working as a paramedic. So when dad's gone, if the kids are out playing, if mom's maybe busy, something happens, I want them to be prepared. When they go to school, go to camp, go to a friend's house, I want them to have a kit. And so I just go on Amazon, kids first aid kit, Band-Aids, smiley face stickers, maybe some wipes. Like, well, what if there's a broken bone or a severe bleed or even a big scrape? They don't have the capability to do anything. And so I set out to design a kit that just added a few things, like a couple of triangle bandages. That is the medic multi-tool that's been proven on the battlefield since the 1860s to do all sorts of things. And its intended purpose is to be multi-useful, cheap, compact, and can be reusable if it's durable enough. So my initial kit was just the same stuff, but adding a couple of triangle bandages. It doesn't take up a lot of extra weight or space, and it increases the capability exponentially. Now they can do a tourniquet, a sling, a splint, wound packing, eye wraps, large area wraps, pressure wraps, all with just a couple simple tools. And so now, with a little bit of training, just a couple of hours, their capability is greater than probably the majority of the adult population with some very simple tools. And then subsequent to that is when I created the Medic Multi-Tool, which is that triangle bandage that has all the pictures on it of everything, how to do it. But if that's not in the price range of someone, some $1 triangle bandages fit the bill. So that was that.
Right. So what I understand is these kits are like multi-purpose, cheap, and reusable, and also that helps in better preparation and easier training, smoother training. So I'd like to, take it to your approach, which is very hands-on and scenario-based. Can you walk us through what a typical Warrior Kid Medic session actually looks like in practice, and what children are doing differently by the end of it?
Okay. Well, first, sometimes I'll teach a shorter session. Like yesterday, I taught a 45-minute session, so I have to condense it. I can go up to a 6.5-hour session. So it's always tailored towards the audience and time constraints and the needs. A huge part of it, I spend the first chunk of time talking about the mental game. Why are you taking the time to learn this? What does it mean to you? Let them pause have them raise hand, and because the why is really important. I'm not here because my mom told me to be. Like, what does it mean when someone's hurt and you have the ability to help? Or when there's no one around and you have to act for yourself. So mental game is big. We teach them you are a calm presence with common sense, as I said before. We teach them a huge thing that I always say is you have permission to make hard decisions. I know that you're used to raising your hand to ask if you need to go to the bathroom in class, but if it's an emergency, you have to make the decision yourself. And then if that turns out to be the wrong decision, no problem. Just reassess and make another decision. And then to focus on one thing at a time, fix that one thing, and then look for the next thing. We talk about leadership. I always give an example of if I'm in a vehicle with you and you're 8 years old and a car hits us and it knocks my head, and I'm like, hey, where's the ice cream man? Like I'm not in my right head. So who's the leader? And the kids are like, I am. Yeah, you're 8 years old and you're the leader, no matter my experience. So we always say you might be the only leader in the room. And then we go on to breathing techniques. We talk about box breathing. We talk about scene safety. Before you put your hands on a patient, you have to make sure that you're safe because you don't want to become part of the problem. So all of that, a large part is mental game. We even do some really fun activities that are leadership based. And then we get into a large set of skills. And then at the end, what is the best and makes me happy and the kids happy is the scenarios. So I'll have them go outside, split into groups. One group is going to be the observers, and one group is going to be the doers. And they walk in and they see, let's say, several dummies on the ground. No one's conscious. What's wrong with this? You need to get out. Something's wrong with this room. It could be gas. And then we'll give them another scenario. Okay, the librarian just went down. Have them do the whole CPR. Hey, are you okay? And at the end of each scenario, the other group, hey, what could they have done better? We always encourage them. Mistakes are awesome. When you make mistakes, that's a win because we want you to mess up here so that you learn from it. So don't be afraid to make those mistakes. And then I'll have them walk in and there's a bleed and it's nothing gruesome looking. I have a dummy that I made out of pool noodles. So it can be leaking water and they have to put a tourniquet on and they have to put them in the shock position. They might have to drag it closer to where the ambulance can get to them. So they're taking all the skills they learned in the last few hours and walking into an environment and they have to think and problem solve right now. And I think that really solidifies it. And whenever I've had conversations with older kids after or parents, they always talk about how much they loved the scenarios. Kids love a challenge. You give them an obstacle course, they're like, I'm going to win the obstacle course. Same thing with the medical scenario. They want to win and they feel like heroes. They're just missing the cape.
I think the right mindset is really important. And as you've mentioned, you try as best, to make them prepare for a right mindset and also have the permission to make hard decisions, right? So that's a really wonderful way. So I think this is all about, the mindset. And I'd like to maybe understand more about the systems now, which is the NPDC. Patricia, the NPDC focuses on connecting novices to experts in pediatric disaster preparedness. What does that connection look like in practice? And we often see that a lot of, experts may be missing. So who is often missing from this?
Well, certainly the children and youth are not as integrated as they need to be. Our goal is really to build a sustainable relationships among communities that foster connections and ensuring that the children's needs are addressed across various disciplines and also sectors. That's a pretty high level, description, but basically it's to create a place where individuals who are doing this work can find support. It is very hard to, in systems and in where there's multiple priorities, to find the support in a community where everybody can be connected and also not get discouraged. This is hard work on that level to change policy, to change protocols, to change, to learn new things, to get support for that effort in the community when the community has so many other needs that you're competing against. We love to provide mentorship, and we do a lot of information sharing so that people don't reinvent what is also awesome out there. They will need to adapt it to their community, but we do not want to what I call rinse and repeat. We have a lot of rinse and repeat going on in terms of creating resources for various groups in schools and in hospitals, and because there's just a lack of awareness that there's really good stuff out there that people can learn from. And I think also one of the things that we're able to do is be extremely flexible enough to pivot when something is happening that is unaddressed for children, and to build, provide some situation awareness about how that event or how that issue is having an impact on children in the situation. We have an open door, policy. If children want to join us, that's great. But it doesn't matter what your experience is, what sector you're belonging to. We are definitely an open door, and we can then help people navigate to their areas of special interest and get connected with other work groups that are doing just wonderful work in this area.
Right. You spoke about change in policy, maybe protocols, and of course, change is tough. And we need to compete against against some of the leadership. And also, you've mentioned about lack of awareness and where people can learn from all these things, right? So what does it mean? What does it mean, and how do you measure success in pediatric disaster preparedness? What does good actually look like at a community or a national level?
Oh, well, there are a number of groups that I've actually been trying to figure out what that looks like and how to measure it on both national, local, and state areas in the United States. I know the World Health Organization has also, addressed those issues. But I think good preparedness means that children have been visibly integrated into all phases, that you can see that as part of a response, preparedness, recovery, all of those things. That's the acid test.
Right. That's amazingly put. I think they need to be integrated in all phases, all areas, and they need from the start till the end. That's right. I think, based on this, I'd like to ask Martha, how do you make disaster education both age appropriate and non-frightening for children, while also bringing complex science from partners like WMO and UNDRR into stories that they can truly understand?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Making something that's so serious into something that's relatable and not scary. So through our illustrated picture books with, the simple language and the relatable real life examples, we focused on clear, practical information. So that, for example, the key DRR instructional messages are a really important theme that runs through our books. So for each of the hazards, we will have the key message for kids to remember in that split second should a disaster occur. So, for example, drop, cover, hold for an earthquake, get up to high ground for a tsunami, listen, prepare, stay aware in a volcanic eruption. So in this way, we're trying to get kids to understand that while disasters are really serious, there are practical actions that they can do to stay safe.
Right. So you have tried to decode it yourself, the entire, the complex science, or was there any other groups that you've, taken support from during this?
Sorry, what was that? What's the question?
Yeah, so did you try including any other groups in the breakdown of this complex science? Like, how was the process of this?
So when you're asking about our scientific advisors, so WMO or UNDRR, we also include advice from universities such as University of Oxford and Stirling. We've been really lucky to have these scientific partners. We also work with NGOs like Save the Children or World Vision and also UNICEF. We also include local DRR experts in the community to make sure that the safety information that we're including is contextualized and also that the local cultural information is accurate. We also check in with our young COPE champions because we all know that children themselves are often the best judges of whether the messages we're trying to put across are kind of relatable and reassuring. So that the books are really not kind of talking down to children, but instead engaging them in a meaningful way. But it's lucky that my brain is wired slightly differently to all these scientific advisors and all these, super high profile people we work with. So I try and translate this complex information into, stories and characters and situations that a 4 to 9-year-old can emotionally connect with and understand, really.
That's really amazing that, even when I tried reading those books, it was so easy for me. I could like memorize everything, and it felt so, I felt so happy even, using it for the kids. And those were from unprivileged communities. And I think they also understood it, very well. So that, again, those books are really great, Martha.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah. I'd like to open this up now to all of you, Dustin, Patricia, and Martha. Looking across training systems and storytelling, what do you think most determines whether a child actually feels safe and capable when a crisis happens? We'll start with Dustin.
That most determines whether they feel safe and capable.
Yes, and
Ooh,
confident when a crisis happens.
it's a trite answer, but training. I mean, even in the fire department for years, if I had trained on something and then I faced that scenario, I felt a lot more confident. It's a horrible feeling to not know what to do, especially in the event that you really need to know what to do right now. So, having been exposed to a book like Martha's or a course or even just a short video or a conversation with parents or teachers to have something to fall back on, because it's the cliche saying that you may not be able to rise to your capability if you're panicked, but you'll fall to your training. So when everything hits the fan and you fall back, you'll fall to the level of training you've received. Um, the other thing I think is a long-term permissive environment from teachers, coaches, parents that allows children to think for themselves. And for example, hey, can you tie my shoe? No, but I'll teach you how. Can you fill this glass of water? No, you know how to do it. You can go fill it up yourself. So that long-term environment of no, you do it. You don't need me to do it. I think is huge. So a combination of the training and knowing that I can and will do for myself when the time comes. That's my best answer. I don't know if it's a great one.
Right. No, I don't think, we are here to understand what is right and wrong. I think everything is important. I think what
Yeah.
you are doing, Patricia and Martha, all of these are very important and can be integrated. Patricia, would you like to answer?
Yeah, well, I think Dustin really hit the nail on the head as far as that's concerned. You know, practice empowering children to be confident and also learn the things they need to learn to survive. We're talking about disaster preparedness, and I'm in the United States and we have a lot of resources. But if we're talking about preparedness on a global scale, there are huge variations in terms of the resources that families have. But preparedness does start with the family in teaching their child how to take care of themselves, how to stay safe. And what that is going to look like is really going to look differently depending on where they live, how they live, and what their culture is. And so these things have to respect all of these areas in order to be successful. I think, teaching children that preparedness is about confidence, not fear, and knowing how to stay safe, who to trust, and how to get help. These are general terms, but depending on the threats and hazards in your area, COPE Disaster Champions has incredible tools in multiple languages that help support that effort on a global scale. And we just need to adults need to practice more with those resources and that mentality, like Dustin has so amply described. We have to work on ourselves in order to help our children.
Yes, truly, we need to work on ourselves too. And I think I'd like to share something here. We had also used resources from NDMA, the National Disaster Management Authority, and those also had some wonderful animational videos for children. And they also had some important pointers like, which number to call, which department, which number. So these, I think, also are very important when it comes to immediately dialing when they have to. So yeah, I think that's really right. Martha, would you like to share?
Yeah, just following on from what Dustin and Patricia were saying, it's all for me. It's all about education and confidence and empowering kids, so they can really feel hopeful and really know exactly what they should be doing if a disaster should occur. So practice does make perfect, so that they would be feeling that they knew exactly what to do. They've got to know how to pack their survival bag in a wildfire, or get their home ready in a cyclone, or plan their evacuation route in a tsunami. Know exactly how to get up to high ground should there be a tsunami, or really know, where the table is in the room exactly if an earthquake should occur. So they need to drop, cover, hold. So just to be really confident in their knowledge, so that they can just do the best they can, should a disaster occur. So it's really just building awareness and knowing how to make the difference and be ready.
Right. I think, yes, I'd like to take away from all three of you that training, practice, and knowledge is really powerful. And thank you. It was really, wonderful. And these were diverse reflections. I think one last question from our team MYC, we'd like to ask all three of you. Every young volunteer from our club would like to know, what is the single most important thing I should teach a child about disasters? Like, we do understand training is important, but what is the first important thing that a child should know about disasters? What would that answer be? Dustin?
Well, I'm beating this one to death, but that a child of any age, that you have permission to make a hard decision, and that you are empowered to do it, and you should not consider in your mind that you can wait for help. Yes, probably help is going to come, but self-reliance, and again, having that permission, and being able to, rather than being overwhelmed by a huge situation, to find one thing that makes progress, calling for help. One thing, helping one kid or one adult. One thing, escaping from the burning building. Just do the one thing and then look around and look for the next one thing. And I think that simplifies it enough, not just for a kid, but for anybody. And that way you can break down any large problem into smaller bits and
I
make good
think,
things happen.
yes, I think one step at a time. Yes. Patricia?
Yeah, again, I think children are capable. They need our support, but they are extraordinarily capable. And there are instances of children with knowledge and practice who have saved not only themselves, but their families and communities and in a disaster. And those are celebrated. They are recognized as extraordinary human beings, but every child has capabilities that we are not taking advantage of, and we need to create more opportunities like this. And so at the National Pediatric Disaster Coalition, we really applaud groups like COPE Disaster Champions, and we want people here in the United States to understand what is happening for risk reduction focused on children, globally, and appreciate that. And then also celebrate, the strong work that individuals are, like Dustin and and his efforts are doing, because there's more than enough work to do for everybody to be involved, and there should be no barriers to us all coming together, getting connected, and supporting the capabilities of children.
Yes, I think, yes, as you mentioned, they are very much capable. And we have also, while we, conducted sessions for these kids, we understood that they observe and learn a lot. And, they also observe, learn, and they have, in fact, given us more answers than, we ourselves know of from the books. So I think, yes, they definitely are capable. Martha?
Yeah, I think probably the most important thing for COPE to teach our kids who, as Patricia was saying, they're not powerless at all, is just to be ready and to be prepared. So they can come away thinking, I know what to do. I know how to keep my family safe. Then I feel like we've achieved something that's impactful and meaningful, and really just to know simple, practical safety actions and to understand, how to stay calm and respond and to listen. Then they can really help protect others and themselves.
Right. Thank you, Martha. And I think these are really wonderful as steps that can be taken and help would definitely help these young minds, MYCNs, to help support the kids. I'd like to now open up to our audience if they have any questions for our panel members. Mohanish would request if you could, unmute those who require to ask.
Yes, we have some hand raised. Maybe you can call, Anusha.
Yeah. Jyotsna ji, would you like to? Yes, please ask.
My question is, what is the special consideration should be kept in mind for infants and children with special need when we are teaching them to be prepared for the disaster?
I can answer that just from a COPE perspective. We do include quite a lot for children with disabilities throughout our narratives, and we're helped by UNICEF, East Asia and Pacific, who check that we've really got our inclusion right as much as we can. For example, in the Heatwave book, there is a girl who's visually impaired in Paris, and she, in order to get to the park to find the water station, she actually counts the steps, you know, and then she turns left at the bakery, and then she counts some more steps, and then she knows it's the way to go right into the park. So we do really try and include. There's also the member of the Cope Squad, Eddie, who is hearing impaired. So across the narrative, we include Libra sign language because Eddie is from Brazil. And so we include sign language across the narrative so that the Cope Squad actually sometimes communicate in this Libra sign language. So yeah, we really try and make that a feature of the books because the Sendai framework tells us that, you know, no one should be left behind. So that's a really important part of the Cope series.
Right. I think Sandra, would you like to unmute and ask?
Hi, thank you so much. That was so informative so far. Thank you you all for making time. My question is, we know that kids are extremely tech savvy. So the question is there a sort of an emergency weather alert system in place that they can have access to allow them to be prepared? For example, impending earthquake or creating a tsunami, you know, the repercussions just roll off that. If they're on the coast, different scenarios. If they're inland, different scenarios. So it's a question of utilizing the capability of kids, who I believe in many ways surpass the knowledge of adults, respectfully. Thank you.
Yeah, in the United States, there are a variety of different apps that children could take advantage of, and we actually encourage that if families are giving a mobile device to their child that and they're old enough to handle a mobile device, then they're old enough to know about these apps. These apps have been created, applications have been created to have alerts depending on your GPS location, and also have preparedness content associated with it. In the United States as well, we have a national alert system called WEA, and that is something that goes off regardless, but it takes a pretty large event to get that kind of alert. There are also local alerting systems that people can sign up for. But again, if you're going to give it to a child, they have to be kind of onboarded to it in terms of what it is, what that means when they get an alert, and how to take action. So there's a lot of resources with that. Having said that, there is a lot of discussion, I think, in our country as well as many places about the adverse impacts of the internet and mobile devices and social media on children right now, and that medium can be a source of victimization in disasters as well as every day. So there is a lot of groups that are focused on that. And for instance, in the United States, we are the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has a large campaign associated with internet safety and those consequences. Sometimes technology is always a two-edged sword. So it can help, it can also hurt if it's misused.
There's one app, I'm sure there's a lot, and I'm not making any money from this app. It's just I got on board with it for a while back. It's called GOES, GOES, and it does exactly what Patricia said as far as it tracks. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because it has. If I'm in a different state it'll alert me like excessive heat today or, unclean air, chance of rain. And it structures your alert. And when you open it up, it tells you, is there a high risk of ticks in this area? Or is it a high risk of cold injury or heat injury, or says if there's a storm coming. And so that one is cool because, as you said, it tracks. And as far as being universally understood, it has lessons as far as if you want to learn something about what to do for a tsunami or for a twisted ankle, and you just click through, and they're super simple. So I think it would span multiple ages. So it's GOES, if that's one worth checking out.
All right. Thank you, Dustin. And thank you, Patricia. I think we have one more person who would like to add or share something. Davis, would you like to unmute?
Hello, everyone. My name is Davis. I'm from Uganda. I'm passionate about climate action, climate resilience, and protecting children from the crisis we have been through.
So Davis is joining us from Uganda and is also helping us team to spread this message of crisis management in Uganda. Maybe Davis, if possible, can you type it in the chat and then we will get back to your question. So maybe we can take the next question. We have here Murhula Blaze, who is joining us from Grand Lacs Youth Network from DR Congo. His question is, in communities affected by conflict, displacement, or disasters, how can we build a sustainable system where the emotional and psychological protection of children becomes a shared community responsibility rather than relying only on humanitarian organizations?
I'll offer one thought process, and this is just an opinion because I have no experience in trying to handling something at that scale. But I think a common thread through everything we've said today is teaching youth. And now, why is that a common thread to answer that question? It's because when you teach things to adults, we already have our own opinions of the world, our own means that we set. But when you teach things starting at a young age, it's like, why do we all know if you approach a restaurant or a ticket booth, you get in line or in a queue? It's because it's part of our culture. And there's other certain things that we all know about how traffic flows. That's part of our culture. Whenever you teach something consistently to kids over and over, it becomes part of the culture. So in this instance, if it's emotional resilience, then that has to start with a parent teaching their kids, and then they talk about it. And the other parent says, that's a pretty good idea. I'm going to teach my kids. And then they talk about it. They say, let's tell this to the school. Maybe they'll teach all the kids. And I think it's that grassroots to where it slowly becomes, well, not everyone's teaching this all the time to all the kids. And now kids grow up with that as a core tenet in their life versus just something that they learned somewhere. So creating the culture starting with one at a time. And I tell you, and like, don't you think that's a good idea? Would you be interested in teaching your kids? And just keep building that and approaching it from youth first, I think is the long game. We may not see the fruits of that this year or in 10 years, but in 30, if every grade school kid has gone through one of those things, it is now a core part of the culture. So
Thank you, Dustin.
I have to absolutely agree with Dustin. This is about us all coming together, working on with our various expertises in the various sectors that we are, and trying to change the culture. And we have to focus on the kids. So, many communities are very well socialized, and the culture is very positive for injury prevention. I think we need to make sure that disaster preparedness is well aligned with injury prevention messages and efforts, because it's all the same thing. And we treat disaster like it's someplace over there, and so it never gets the same attention as teaching families, when they have a brand new baby, the safety things, the things that will prevent injury, as they grow up with various stages. This is all part of it. So, yeah, if we can change the culture, it's one step at a time. The more we do it together, the better chance we have to making a difference, I think.
Anusha, can I just say something to Davis, please? Because
Yes,
we're just launching a book on lightning in Uganda at the moment, which we've done with the WMO and also the Prime Minister and the First Lady of Uganda. We'll be launching it on International Lightning Safety Awareness Day on June the 28th, or maybe it's on the 26th, so 2 days before the actual day, at a school in Kampala. So I'd love Davis to look out for that and, maybe be involved in some way and help us, share that message to kids in Uganda, which is really vulnerable to lightning strikes. I think they have 4 million a year or something. And the message there is when thunder roars, go indoors. So if Davis is interested in, getting involved in that and sharing the word on that, we'd love it.
thank you,
Definitely,
Martha.
Martha. Thank you so much. And I will convey this to Davis.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were actually planning some activities in Uganda as he has joined a team recently. So this will be a wonderful help for us. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you, Martha, and congrats. And I am really interested to, I'd like to get updates on this. And also, we'll definitely connect this to Davis. I'm pretty sure he would be interested to take this up. Yeah. And as a parting thought, I think what I understand is do this consistently, the training, the practice, and everything until it becomes our culture. That's very, very powerful. And I think youth would definitely help in, closing this gap and raising the voice and also trying to, make more of a representation of children in the picture. So I hope that as Team MYC, we are doing our small part in this. And on behalf of Team MYC, a big thank you to all our guests today.
Anusha, there's one a question left. Maybe we can cover that also.
All right, can you
So,
please read that?
what are the common gaps in pediatric disaster preparedness that need urgent attention?
I think that was answered a while ago by Patricia. I'm sure that was answered, right?
Okay then. Okay.
Yeah. It's so dependent on what resources you have in the community and understanding what are the major threats. And so there's a process in terms of hazard, identification and assessing your community that can help you prioritize what you need to work on.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Patricia.
I think Sarupya also had raised his hand.
Yeah. First of all, thanks thanks to all of our guests who provided such wonderful insights regarding this topic. I would like to ask a question that is basically related to some psychology of the children. So, in many cases, like personally, I have experienced a kind of I would say a kind of trauma in during a man-made disaster, I would say. Because what happened is I was into a coaching. I was like going into a coaching, and there used to be some seniors who used to bully the young kids. And yeah, so that was a kind of man-made disaster where one of that senior did one thing which was extremely bad, and the teacher who was like who used to be the main in the coaching, he also scolded that young boy, and the young boy felt very miserable after that. So I just wanted to know, like during these kind of situations where children during this disaster that may be man-made or natural, where children get very much traumatized with of the after effects of this. So what can we as a parents or elders do or provide to make them comfortable and release the trauma within the children that happens during mainly in times of disasters, like the circumstances of disaster. So how can we help these young kids?
Anybody would like to take that?
Well, there's a lot of education that needs to happen, in communities with adults to understand how to more effectively communicate with children and to do that in a way that is not punitive and gets a better result. I think in disaster preparedness, what we focus on is trying to mitigate these adverse, traumatic events. You can actually do that with people in groups by providing positive experiences for them, even after they've experienced a really tough event. And that can be healing.
Thank you so much, Ms. Patricia, for your wonderful insights.
Thank you. Monish, is there any other question?
Davis has joined. I think there was some network issue. Would you like to ask a question again, Davis?
Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry about my network, but I was still saying many families cannot afford professional mental health after the distributes all the crises that are ongoing on with our communities due to the climate changes. So we as youths come out, reach out to communities to teach them how we can overcome kind of distributes. Through community outreach awareness, we join up forums with fellow youths to save what we call our planet. So I'm glad to talk to you all and wish you find my message well. The question I'm having for this meeting today is, I believe emotional recovery is just as important as a physical recovery. A child feels free, a child feels safe, a child feels safe when taken care of. So as young youths and children in my community, we prepare and show them the best way you can overcome disputes throughout the crises that are ongoing on. So I think those are some of the words I have in this meeting.
Well, I'd like to just say to Davis, well done for all this incredible work you're doing. And I think it's amazing that you're trying to, hold such forums and really try and connect with kids and teach them more and more how to be prepared for disasters and build up their emotional resilience. It sounds like there's not so many that's not so much support, and it's wonderful that you're doing that and really trying to build their resilience and prepare them for, tough situations and disasters and hazards in Uganda. So congratulations. And like I was just saying before, please do join us for this lightning book that we'll be launching on June the 26th, because we'd love you to be involved and to share this with your community and really try and spread the word with us. Thank you.
Hey, Davis, I'll offer one opinion here with regard to the emotional healing after a traumatic event and the emotional resilience. If I'm understanding you correctly, that's what you're asking about. I think that it is so nuanced that it's impossible to say that there would be, oh, this is the way, this is my recommendation. Because for some people, it might be faith. Hey, pray about it, talk to your pastor or, your religious leader. For some people, it might be, hey, are you tough? Be tough, suck it up, let's go. Some people respond to that. Some people might need, hey, let's go walk and talk. Let me hug you and let's just talk about this and be sensitive. And for others, it might be, you have all this angst. Let's redirect that. Take the attention off of yourself and let's find one person we can help. And you can direct your attention to helping one other person instead of how you feel inside. But different people will respond to such different things that it's such a hard thing to tackle because you might tell one kid to pray about it and he says, well, I'm not a believer. You might tell another kid to hug it out and do therapy. And what they really need is someone to say, let's go work hard together. Let's go build something, It's just it's such a nuanced thing. I don't think there's one right answer, but I think a universal thing is community, bringing people together and let them talk about it and get it off their chest. I know at the fire station, when we had a bad run, we'd all get back to the station, and a lot of times our dark humor, we would joke about it, and that's what let it out, so that it's not held up in here. It's out amongst our buddies, and sometimes it would be some tears together, but the sense of community of someone who's had a shared experience, to put them in the same room, if they experienced the same disaster, the same trauma, and just lead the forum. Hey, talk about it, and let it pour out so it's not bottled up. That's all I've got. I'm not a therapist, but that's my own experience.
Thank you so much. So Tudas reminded me that protecting children during the crisis, it's not just an emergency work. It is an investment for our future.
Amen.
Yeah, and Davis, if I can just share, what you're creating an opportunity for the children then to take back into their own families and back to their friends and back to their community, because we know over and over again that children create opportunities for family and community to come together. They can be change agents. And so, again, this is why we're talking about changing the culture, because it starts with children. And if we can get children on the same page, then, the community is more likely to move forward in that direction.
So I think the other question I'm having is, like, how can young people become trusted leaders in crises or with the effects that are going on, regardless of what the age, the education status? So how can we young people be trusted?
I think it has how you conduct yourself. Trust is something that you can't do for yourself. It's who you are and what you do and how you conduct yourself.
Actually, in COPE, we focus a lot on women and girls as being leaders in their communities, and girls being the ones to show others where the evacuation routes are, and how to read the early warning signs and where to find how to recognize the tsunami warning signs. And so we really focus on girls being in leadership positions throughout the narratives, which is an interesting slant.
If I can add to that too, I can't echo enough what Patricia said about how you conduct yourself. And I have 4 young kids. They're 11, 9, 7, and 5. And if they're going to teach a class and they're nervous, yesterday my 11-year-old helped to teach a class of 15, 17-year-olds. And I said, well, when you demonstrate that you're here to help and you demonstrate that you have a level of knowledge, then people respect you for it. And that respect, I think, equates to trust. So Davis, if you have kids that are willing to learn and demonstrate good character, that then they want to take what they've learned and share it, now you've created trust, because it's not just, I know this and you don't. It's, hey, how can I help you to learn? Can I share this knowledge with you? That, in my opinion, creates a high level of trust, because it's all about giving.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Davis, for that question, and thank you all for answering that with so much patience. And sorry if there was a bit of a delay. We'd like to thank all of you on behalf of Team MYC, and we're really grateful for your time, for your insights, and the incredible work each of you are doing in the field of disaster preparedness for children and communities. And thanks to everybody who joined us today. We hope this conversation just does not inform you, but also inspire you to take one step and make you think a little differently and engage more deeply in this space. And until next time, take care, stay alert, aware, and active. Thank you.
Thank you
Goodbye.
so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Bye.
Take care,
Thank
everyone.
Have a
you.
good day.
You're welcome.
And wish all a happy
Thank you
Mother's
for
Day.
coming. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Manish. Take care, guys.
It's been nice
Bye-bye.
talking to you all. You take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Davis. We will let you know about the resources of COPE.